Hey everyone, this is Mr. Whiteley on location. I'm here in San Antonio at the Alamo. Yes, the Alamo that we talk about in Texas Revolution. This is the location where Jim Bowie, Davy Crockett, and William B. Travis fought off, only using about 250 men, fought off and held their own for 2 weeks against 1,500 of Santa Anna's soldiers. We're gonna go in and take a closer look. Let's go. About to go into the actual Alamo Chapel. We can't take any pictures inside, just for reverence of those that lost their lives, so we'll catch you on the other side. Wow, that was incredible. I mean, being in that building that represents such a historic battle in Texas Revolution history. Inside there were lots of these different rooms, and each one of those rooms had different significance and a different use. Even the roof of the Alamo wasn't even finished until they came back and restored it. The roof was never finished because the church was abandoned. So pretty amazing piece of history to walk through. So this wall right here that faces the west of San Antonio are actually ruins of where the Indians would actually live. This is where they would sleep. This is where they would cook. They had kitchens in here, and this is just a piece of that area. All right, so we are actually in the barracks right now. This is the oldest building in Texas. This is a neat map here. It shows here's where the Alamo is today, and then all the way out here is where the mission would stretch way out into where the street is today. And that barrack, that wall where they would live would be right here, and their courtyard is right here. This is an interesting monument right here. It says, erected in grateful recognition of the supreme act of heroism of the 32 men from Gonzales who gave their lives in the Alamo in response to the appeal of Travis. Travis sent letter after letter after letter trying to encourage more and more people to join them in the fight. And only 32 men from Gonzales actually ended up coming to join them. And this monument is for those 32 men. So even with just the small amount that they had, they were going to fight to the end.
munitions that were fired from the cannons of the Alamo. The Texans actually have more guns than the Mexicans do. They have 21 pieces of artillery. The Mexicans only have 8. They fired a cannonball that weighed less than 1 pound. That one's a half-pounder, a range of about 750 yards. However, at the time of the Battle of the Alamo, those 3 guns were over 100 years old. They had been given to the mission when it was still under Catholic control. And they were given to the priests to scare away or to ward off attacks by the Apache. And so the round ball disappeared. So what they had to do, they took scrap metal, nails, pieces of any kind of scrap metal they could, put it in a bag and fired it. Today we would call that an improvised round. A cannon gets its name from the size of the cannonball it shoots. The smallest of the big cannons fired a 2-pounder. The largest fired a cannonball about that big around and weighed 18 pounds. This is a 3-pounder. The 2 guns you saw in the middle up there are 3-pounders. One of them fired this cannonball. It was found a few hundred yards east of here. It shows battle damage. There were 4 others in the same area. And if I was to shoot this at a 45-degree angle, I could shoot this as far as 2,500 yards, just under 1.5 miles. The 18-pounder with 5 pounds of gunpowder, we could shoot 2.5 miles. Now, that being said, we usually don't shoot until the enemy's about 1,800 yards away. Now, the solid ball, as you might imagine, could be used to knock down walls. Santa Anna doesn't want to do that. The Alamo is a fort. It's the key to controlling all of Texas.
Very expensive, and a lot of families living out here cannot afford these things. Plus, they're hard to find out here as well. But if a family could buy one, typically they can only afford to buy one. So stacked on there, right. One of our volunteers had this made by a blacksmith in New Mexico. He made this. He's since passed on. But trade knives were common on the frontiers. Most of them put gunpowder in the pan, in this pan first. The rest of the powder we pour down the barrel. The ball will stay in that paper, and we wad that up and stuff it in there. And we're going to pull that rammer out and drive it all the way in.
I look like Davy Crockett, right? So this sculpture behind me is actually pretty incredible. It was built in the year 1936, 100 years after Texas gained their independence. And it was granted by the federal government, see how tall it is, to commemorate that 100 years of independence. So this model actually shows what the mission would have looked like before the Battle of San Antonio. And you can see the rows of houses right up front. This is where the Native American Indians would live. And then back here, what we now know as the barracks, at that point was actually used to house the priests and those that helped keep the church looking the way that it was supposed to. You see that wall on the outside that was really built just to defend the mission from Indian raids and attacks. So behind me is what the Alamo would have looked like in the year 1836. So you can see the Alamo right back here, right? But there's so much more to that mission than just that one church. So here's the barracks that we walked through. And right up here you would have your ramps for your cannons. They would actually have back behind the Alamo, they had ramps for cannons there as well. In fact, the number of people that were inside the Alamo defending it were so few that every 7 feet there would be one person, while 1,500 would attack from the outside, from the back, the front, and the side. So you can't see it because there's a big, giant hotel in the way, but there's a church right on the other side of that hotel called San Fernando, and that is the church where Santa Anna flew a red flag to let those people know at the Alamo that they will be providing no quarter. They were going to take them all out, no prisoners. How did they respond? A cannon shot. Well, that's pretty much going to wrap up my visit to the Alamo. Pretty amazing things to see here. If you ever get a chance, I totally think you should come and check it out for yourself. So, hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Mr. Whiteley on location, signing off.